Ms. Moss, can you pull your
sorry,
mic? Okay.
Do you want me to do that all over again?
Yes, please. Yeah.
I'd like to call to order the RTA Organizational Services and Performance Monitoring Committee. Teresa, will you please call the roll?
Okay. Mayor Biassiata is not here. Ms. Moss?
Here.
Mayor Weiss? Here. And Ms. Welch?
Here.
We have 3 committee members present.
Thank you. Today we have a presentation on an RFP for procurement. It's about a competitive negotiated procurement, and I'm not sure, Scott Ferraro and Sharon Cottrell-Peffer will be giving the presentation.
Good morning, Vice Chair Karen Moss, members of the board. I'm Scott Ferraro. I'm the Senior Director of Labor and Employee Relations and Compliance. Today, Sharon Cottrell and I will be presenting our RFP recommendations for healthcare beginning in 2023. Little background regarding this project. The authority currently provides healthcare benefits to approximately 2,100 employees. These are in accordance with our ATU and FOP contracts, as well as our personnel policies and procedures for our non-represented employees. Part-time employees are also eligible for health care, but at an increased cost. Scope of services that we sought out in this procurement were for medical, prescription drugs, dental, vision, life insurance, and flexible spending account, which allows employees to set aside monies pre-tax to help pay for out-of-pocket medical expenses. Our current vendors include Medical Mutual of Ohio for medical, Express Scripts through Medical Mutual of Ohio for prescription drugs, Delta Dental of Ohio for dental, National Vision Administrators or NVA for vision, the Guardian Life Insurance Company for life, and again, Medical Mutual of Ohio for flexible spending account. I'll pass it over to Sharon now to go through our procurement overview.
Good morning. This RFP was issued on May 11th of this year. We had 30 vendors who were interested and 15 vendors who responded. The vendors were asked to propose on any or all lines of coverage. The evaluation committee consisted of employees from human resources, including benefits and labor and employee relations, the legal department, including legal and risk management, internal audit, operations. From the finance, we had Office of Management and Budget, Office of Business Development, and Procurement. And then we also had Oswald Companies, who was our consultant for healthcare benefits. The criteria for evaluation consisted of customer service, provider network accessibility and disruption, financial considerations and cost effectiveness, program management, stability and financial strength of the organization, and quality and responsiveness of the proposal. So we are recommending a community insurance company doing business as Anthem, Blue Cross, and Blue Shield for medical and for prescription drug. Ingenio RX is the partner of Anthem for prescriptions. Delta Dental for our dental insurance. National Vision Administrators, LLC for vision. Metropolitan Life Insurance Company for life insurance and for flexible spending account. There was a 10% DBE goal set on the administrative costs only for each line of coverage. The following vendors were identified as DBE partners: TM Consulting, the Markey Group for Delta Dental of Ohio, K Media Marketing, National Vision Administrators, and again, TM Consulting for both Anthem and MetLife. The staff requests that the Organizational Services and Performance Monitoring Committee recommend to the Board of Trustees the award of 1-year contracts with 3 one-year options to Anthem, Delta Dental of Ohio, Incorporated, National Vision Administrators, LLC, and MetLife based upon estimated enrollment for 2023. The first year of healthcare for Anthem is estimated to cost $31,930,000. Prescription is estimated at $4,640,000. Dental is estimated at $1,100,000. National Vision Administrators for Vision is estimated at $120,000. Life insurance is estimated at $380,000. That's the company portion. $450,000 is the voluntary life, which the employees pay for. And for the flexible spending, it's estimated at $20,000 for a total estimated cost for the first year, which is 2023, which would be $38,640,000. Does anyone have any questions we can answer?
Are there any questions from the committee or the board? I guess I'll ask the question is, how does this package come into our budget? Is this the amount that we budgeted for?
Yes, actually, the amounts are within the budgeted amounts for each. And would you like comparisons to previous?
No, I'm just, it's a line item in the budget, and I just wanted to make sure
Yes,
that
everything's in line
nothing
with the
needs to be
budget.
changed. Perfect.
I just asked that the presenters actually speak into the microphone. Sharon,
Oh,
you
I'm
just use the
sorry.
mics.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I was making room for Scott if he needed to come up.
You can.
Okay, and I should also say that we have Kelsey Finucane and Natalia Farian from Oswald with us, and we also have representatives from Anthem, MetLife, and TM Consulting. And we brought in those folks because they are with the new vendors that we would be selecting for this term.
I think Mayor Weiss has a question.
Yes, thank you for the presentation. Just a question. I was looking for a comparison. Where are we making changes? We're making changes on the medical and prescription?
Medical and prescription, we're with Medical Mutual of Ohio, and we're moving to Anthem and Anthem's prescription partner, which is Ingenio RX. And then also we had the Guardian Life Insurance Company for our life, and we're switching to MetLife for that, as well as flexible spending. And I forgot to mention, flexible spending was also with Medical Mutual previously. And TM Consulting is the DBE partner for both of those new vendors.
Was Medical Mutual, how long did they have a contract prior to that?
For a very, very long time, at least 20 plus years.
Okay, so this is a significant change from past practice. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Any other questions? Please go ahead, Valerie.
Just one quick question. For employees who've had Medical Mutual for a long time, which means they have certain doctors, how are we going to mitigate that switch between doctors? Because sometimes the doctors would become out-of-network doctors if you're switching to a different provider.
You want
Currently, it looks like it's about a 97% match regarding the disruption. The biggest disruption comes under Medical Mutual. We have two HMO plans. One's with a UH group, and the other one is with Metro Hospital Group. With those, there's approximately 150 employees that are in there. Our plan is to reach out to those individually to let them know about the changes that are coming, as well as we will have, written materials that'll go out to all employees, as well as our health fairs that are coming up. The other thing is we do have a HMO-style plan under Anthem, and that will be under the Cleveland Clinic, though.
Okay, so for clarity, under the HMO plan, so if an employee currently has Medical Mutual and their doctor is at the Cleveland Clinic, they will be able to continue to see their particular doctor. And the reason I'm asking is because if they have a family member that has a specialty that they've been seeing a particular doctor that may not now be covered because it could be considered out of network, the HMO will allow them to continue to see their doctor, say, if they're at Cleveland Clinic instead of the new provider.
So if they're in the current HMO provision of UH or Metro hospitals, they'll need to move to the PPO plan under Anthem. Anthem does have coverage through all those hospitals and doctors here in the Cleveland area.
Okay, so I'm sorry. For clarity, they would switch to the PPO plan, and that
Correct.
PPO plan will allow them to continue to see their current doctor wherever their doctor may be, if it's in the Cleveland Clinic, using that as an example currently.
Again, it's a 97% match, so they should. If they're
Okay.
not, we'll work with them, and TM Consulting will
Okay.
also help them to locate another doctor
Okay.
if necessary.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if this is exactly appropriate time, or maybe we should have this on the agenda, but at a different time. It's just like an explanation of like our benefits, like what percentage do our employees pay? What is it covered? We're self-insured to a point, correct?
Yes, we are
Like
self-insured.
and so I don't know if this is the appropriate time, and you may not be ready to present that, but I think that I've been on the board a really long time, and I have a clear understanding of our benefits, and a lot of it I know may be negotiated by contract, but just what are those benefits, and what do our employees pay?
So our employees pay 14% of the premium. The RTA picks up the other 86%. That was negotiated in the recent contracts and will continue for the next 3 years. That's been the same rate over the last 2 contract periods. Deductibles are $300 for single, $600 for family, and we have a 90/10 out-of-pocket max of $1,000 and $2,000 respectively for single and family.
And then what we can do as well is we can provide documentation for the board. I would request that would be probably an as-info packet that can be provided. And then we can always sit down with any board member to create a little bit more of a breakdown so that you can understand the split and things like that.
Okay. No, I think that was a good thumbnail sketch, maybe kind of what I was asking. I appreciate that because it was not necessarily on the agenda. Oh, go ahead, Mayor Weiss.
One other question on the flexible spending. The 20,000, does that represent the amounts that employees are contributing into the flexible spending account?
That would be our admin cost and anything else attached to it? Just the admin costs.
Okay, I was going to say, it seemed low to me. That's why I was kind of asking. It didn't seem, okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Well, thank you for that great presentation.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it. We have one more thing on our agenda.
Ms. Moss, we need a motion in a second.
Sorry about that. Okay. She keeps me honest. Is there a motion from the board to bring, or from the committee to bring to the full board?
So moved. Mayor Weiss.
Is there a second down there, Lauren, perhaps?
Second.
Okay, this will move to the full board. There's one other.
Ms. Moss, if we could ask all in favor, any opposed?
Really are helping me here, Teresa. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone against? Okay, I think we're going to have this concluded, right? Sounds good?
Correct.
Okay. So then the second thing on the agenda is there's an Oracle upgrade implementation and subscription services. And that will be, our presenters will be Josh Miranda, Louis Cataluski. You have to help me with that name.
She was just asking clarification on your last name.
Oh, Catalusi, thank you.
I apologize. Thank you.
Good morning, Vice Chair Moss, committee members, and members of the board. My name is Joshua Miranda. I'm the Director of Enterprise Architecture and Application, and this morning we'll be discussing the Oracle Upgrade and Implementation Subscription Services. So why infrastructure as a service? GCRTA currently, the Enterprise Business Suite will no longer be supported after 2023 and must be upgraded. The current version is hosted locally on old infrastructure that lacks disaster recovery and a hot standby site. The implementation of infrastructure as a service from Oracle will correct these deficiencies, and the implementation of IaaS will also require an Oracle Service Agreement licensing. Infrastructure as a service. Alignment with GCRTA's commitment to use hosted solutions help us to improve our disaster recovery posture. Consolidated integrations from secondary business systems will put it on a single manageable platform, and it creates an opportunity to use increased computing capability to enhance our business processes. And I'm going to turn it over to Lou for procurement.
Good morning, I'm Lou Catalusi, Contract Administrator, Construction and Engineering. I'll be presenting the procurement portion. First, we're going to talk about the implementation partner portion. Section 306.43H6 of the Ohio Revised Code states that a sole source procurement is authorized when the purchase substantially involves the services of a personal, professional, highly technical, or scientific nature, including but not limited to the services of an attorney, physician, surveyor, appraiser, investigator, court reporter, adjuster, advertising consultant, or licensed broker, or involves the special skills or proprietary knowledge required for the servicing of special equipment owned by the Regional Transit Authority. We propose a sole source with Application Software Technology, LLC. They have unique knowledge of GCRTA's Oracle ERP system. They completed the last major upgrade in 2011. They have the ability to compete the scope of work within the restrictive timeline based on their proposal received on July 22nd, 2022, and there is a DBE goal of 0% assigned to this procurement. Our applications implementation partner, Application Software Technology, LLC, strength and experience, extensive work with these types of upgrades, thorough understanding of the Oracle infrastructure, and an understanding of the authority's needs and expectations. Application Software Technology's clients include the Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority, LA Metro, Chicago Transit Authority, TriMet, New York State Thruway Authority, and the Port of Oakland. Staff requests that the Organizational Services and Performance Monitoring Committee recommend an award to Application Software Technology, LLC, for Oracle EBS upgrade and IAS implementation services in an amount not to exceed $2,007,862. I'm now going to talk about the licensing portion. Section 306.43H3 of the Ohio Revised Code states that a sole source procurement is authorized when the expenditure is for a renewal or renegotiation of a lease or license for telecommunications or electronic data processing equipment, services, or systems, or for the upgrade of such equipment, services, or systems, or for the maintenance thereof as supplied by the original source or its successors or assigns. We recommend a sole source with Oracle America, Inc. We are currently a Oracle ERP customer. Oracle IAS simplifies future upgrades. We received a proposal on June 27th, 2022. There is also a 0% DBA goal for this portion of the project. The licensing will ensure that we have a stable and secure infrastructure solution that receives consistent patching and support and can grow with the GCRTA as our needs evolve. It provides GCRTA with the ability to follow best practices and have redundancy and offsite storage for the safety-sensitive data stored within the Oracle database. Staff requests that the Organizational Services and Performance Monitoring Committee recommend an award to Oracle America, Inc. for Oracle IAS subscription services in the amount not to exceed $173,934. We'd be happy to take any questions you may have.
Are there any questions from the committee or the board?
Chair,
Yes.
to the presenter, can you talk about what the, if this includes any training, those dollars, how they're allocated, so people can have an understanding of what that looks like?
Sure. So within the scope is a net difference training between what the current program looks like and what the future state will look like. So the vendor will help us to understand if a process has changed, they are on the hook to build us a new script to ensure that our team knows how to execute those processes. And then the way that the contract is built, the numbers you're seeing are worst case scenario numbers. Okay, so we have put some allocation of hours in. Lou, you remember the number of hours?
2,000.
So we have 2,000 hours available to us to use if we need them. We do not anticipate requiring those hours, but they are there in case we need them.
So the staff will be doing a lot of this work, and this is a supplement, correct?
That is correct. So the thing that the contractor will be performing is the movement to the IaaS platform specifically.
Are there any other questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to take this to the full board?
Motion.
Seconded.
Is there, all in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? I think this will go on to the board then. That was the last item on our agenda, so is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
My friend Lauren, we're adjourning. Could you say yes? Yes. Yes. Okay. All in favor, aye? Opposed? We're done. Here, I think it's you. Lauren was going for the gavel. I see.
I would like to call to order the RTA Operational Planning and Infrastructure Committee. Teresa, roll call, please.
Ms. Welch,
Present.
Ms. Moss,
Here?
Mr. Joyce is not here, Ms. Peo.
Here.
We have 3 committee members present.
Thank you so much, Teresa. Today we have an RFP procurement and a presentation of a competitive negotiated procurement for on-call schedule and cost control services for a period of 24 months. The presenters today are going to be Kathleen McGurvey, resident engineer, and Jen Martin, contract administrator, construction and engineering team. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Welsh, members of the committee, and members of the board. As mentioned, we're here to present the On-Call Schedule and Cost Control 2022. I'm Kathleen McGurvey, and this is John Martin from Procurement. The purpose of this contract is to perform scheduling analysis for progress and impacts to augment RTA in-house personnel, and then also to provide cost control and cost estimates as required. And this will be a task order contract, and the total of all tasks will not exceed $200,000 over the course of 2 years. Proposed tasks for this project include the Warrensville Van Aken Station reconstruction, the East 79th Street light rail reconstruction, the Waterfront Line Bridge rehabilitation, the rehabilitation of track bridges over West 117th Street, and the Tower City East Portal rehabilitation, and then, of course, other projects as they arise.
Good morning. My name is Jen Martin, and I am the contract administrator for this project. I will now give you the procurement overview. The request for proposal was issued on May 2nd of 2022. It was accessed on the GCRTA website by 19 interested parties. 3 firms had submitted proposals, and 3 firms were interviewed. The evaluation panel members consisted of members from the Engineering and Project Development Department, Grants Management, Power and Way from the Signals Department, Office of Management and Budget, Office of Business Development, and Procurement. As this is a Brooks Act procurement, we had the evaluation criteria consisting of the evaluation of the project manager, the assigned staff, past performance, project approach, location of the majority of the work, and DBE participation. GCRTA has identified the most technically qualified vendor as Construction Support Solutions, LLC of Avon Lake, Ohio. A 9% DBE goal was assigned to this project. Construction Support Solutions, LLC is a certified DBE firm and will exceed this goal by performing self-work. The firm's experience from Construction Support Solutions, LLC has successfully completed projects for the GCRTA, Kent State University, NASA, Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, ODOT, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, among others. Construction Support Solutions, LLC's personnel are experienced and familiar with the GCRTA system as a consultant and in providing quality deliverables. Staff requests that the Operational Planning and Infrastructure Committee recommend award to Construction Support Solutions, LLC, for consulting services for the on-call scheduling and cost control of 2022. This contract is not to exceed $200,000 and 0 cents for the period of 24 months. We will be happy to entertain any questions the board may have.
Any questions from the committee or board? Can you talk a little bit about timeline of this?
As in?
From conception to when we will be moving forward with this.
If this project goes to full board approval, the contract does not start until the first task is ordered. So that could be within a few days, that could be within a few months.
Any additional questions from the committee or board? Mayor?
In keeping with the last presentation too, is this the current provider of these services, or is this a change?
That is correct. Construction Support Solutions does have the current contract.
Okay. And this covers all kinds of projects, or are there specific types of projects that these services relate to?
Well, it would be mostly construction projects and probably the larger projects with more complexity. But it could be any project where we need an independent cost estimate just because, maybe the engineer has too much information about how a contractor prices things out or whatever. So if the engineer somehow inadvertently has information that they shouldn't have, or maybe the value of the change order is so high that, we want to have another party look at it and make sure that we're not signing on to something, that's just too big of a change order for what the work is.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions? Mayor? Did you just raise your hand? Okay. Just kidding. Thank you so much for your presentation today. We really appreciate it. Do we have a motion to move this to the full board?
Motion to move to the full board.
Second, Luce.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The RFP procurement, a presentation of competitive negotiated procurement on-call schedule and cost control services for a period of 24 months will move to the full board. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move, Luce.
Second, Karen.
This meeting is now adjourned.
Thank you very much. Call to order the RTA Committee of the whole board. Asking Ms. Barrage if she will call the roll.
President Lucas,
Present.
Ms. Moss,
Here.
Mayor Biassiata is not here, Mr. Joyce is not here, Mayor Kumar,
Here.
Ms. McCall,
Here.
Ms. Peo,
Here.
Mayor Weiss,
Present.
and Ms. Welch.
Here.
We have 7 committee members present.
Thank you very much. Let me begin by also recognizing that this will be the first meeting that our new legal counsel is present in that very important seat there. And so on behalf of the board, we welcome Judge Burney to that position. Welcome, Judge. Also, the role of advisor has been assigned to Cheryl until November. And we will look forward to continuing having her with us. And she's in the virtual world. Hello, virtual world. We're glad to have you. Also, on Sunday, I had the opportunity to participate in the Puerto Rican parade, and thousands were lined up during the event on Fulton Avenue. And I wish the board could have been with me because just about every group, they yelled out, RTA, we love RTA. RTA is number one. So made me feel very good. So I want to bring their cheers to the board today. Today we will hear from the Transit Police that were also very much present with me on Sunday. And they had motorcycles on either side of me, and people were running up and taking pictures. And one person said the guy said, I don't know who's that guy. He said, I think he's the new mayor. So, I can't wait to tell our real new mayor about that. So the Transit Police were very much there. And I thank you, Chief Jones, for all of them, that whole contingent you had today. Today we're going to hear from them with an upgrade of the Transit Ambassador Program and Civilian Oversight Commission. Our chief is going to present along with her staff. Chief?
Good morning, Chairman Lucas and members of the board. My name is Deirdre Jones, and I'm the chief of the GCRTA Police Department. With me is Lieutenant Richard Kopp and Project Manager Ron Woodford, and today we are presenting an update on the Transit Ambassador Program. Because our department believes in proactive policing, we will never pass on an opportunity to demonstrate to the public that we hear you and that you are valued. We at Transit Police believe that progressive policing and community engagement reduces law enforcement footprint on the GCRTA transit system, that it can integrate unarmed professionals to handle non-criminal issues, provide enhanced connection with the community, and address rider concerns. We believe that this is possible through a two-pronged approach, which is the Transit Ambassador Program and our Crisis Intervention Specialists. The GCRTA Transit Ambassador Program is a partnership with Transit Police and Service Quality. Transit ambassadors shall act as customer service representatives for GCRTA and provide increased presence of uniformed personnel on the transit system and engage the public by assisting with fares and deterring fare evasion. Transit ambassador uniforms shall be red, short, and long sleeve polo shirts with RTA logo on the left breast and Transit Ambassador on the back. They shall wear tan khakis and black uniform shoes or boots. Transit Ambassadors shall provide general information and assistance to riders and members of the public. They shall assist riders needing help with navigating the transit system, assist riders with boarding and disembarking, and routinely riding transit lines. They shall support operators with implementation of onboard rules for riding, maintain a high degree of visibility, advise service quality of security or safety hazard related issues, perform public monitoring for special events, request transit police assistance as needed, serve as liaisons for GCRTA approved events, and help maintain a safe and clean environment on the system. Transit Ambassador Program provides a new approach to interact with and assist riders with fare payment by providing riders with service information and fare programs, providing increased presence on the RTA system to help deter or reduce fare evasion, helping riders comply with fare policies, supporting and coordinating with operators, and they shall be deployed on routes with high ridership. Our crisis intervention specialists will work first and second shifts. They shall be licensed social workers with specialized training. They shall perform mental health, homelessness, crisis, and substance abuse outreach, and diffuse immediate crises and serve as gateways to resources. Our crisis intervention specialists shall establish relationships with social service agencies, and they shall be embedded with transit police and respond with police for calls for service. Crisis intervention specialist uniforms shall be black, short and long sleeve polo shirts with RTA logo on the left breast and crisis intervention specialists on the back. They shall wear tan khakis and black uniform shoes or boots. Our current partnerships include the Cuyahoga County Diversion Center, May Dugan Center, Northeast Ohio Coalition for the Homeless, and Stella Maris. However, TP is also forging new partnerships with a variety of agencies to provide additional support for people who may be in crisis. The proposed schedule and hours will be first and second shifts from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. and 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. Those hours are subject to change based on need. We are looking to have 8 to 10 transit ambassador and crisis intervention specialists. And with our transit ambassadors, they will work 1 to 2 teams per shift. They will ride the health line and also rail stations. As you can see, the required training is the same, except with the exception of reporting. They shall have 40 hours of crisis intervention training, human trafficking, de-escalation and defensive tactics, first aid, CPR and Narcan, customer service, any training that is required by our own human resources department. They shall also have field orientation and ride-along and shadow officers and any additional continuing training. The ArcGIS Survey 123 is a system that we will be using. It will serve as real-time data collected and entered on a tablet by transit ambassadors. It is a partnership between Transit Police, Intelligent Transportation Systems, or ITS, and Service Quality. This new technology will be used to gather stats and later create maps and reports. And the information will also be used to monitor and assign transit ambassadors accordingly. As of yesterday, we have 6 transit ambassadors onboarded, 1 crisis intervention specialist onboarded. Modifications are being made to the West 65th Street station to accommodate a new transit ambassador office. The uniforms have been identified and we are working with local vendors. And there are currently 4 weeks of orientation and training for our transit ambassadors and crisis intervention specialists. So while we are currently in quarter 2 with recruitment and hiring, this bleeds over into quarter 3. We are in process. We anticipate that all personnel will be onboarded and trained by the end of the 3rd quarter. Again, the first group was hired yesterday and started yesterday. The program evaluation has begun effective the hiring date and will continue through the 4th quarter of 2022. Are there any questions?
Mr. Chair? Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Question?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, I just want to say this is a great program. Luz and I, as most of you know, just returned from the Transit Board members seminar, and we had a whole session on security. And this is top of mind for a lot of transit agencies. I think Denver, CODA, a lot of agencies presented about their safety programs, and each had different models. Like CODA had a pilot program that they did where they hired off-duty officers, off-duty security to ride their buses. So everybody had a different model trying to solve some of the same issues that we're dealing with here in Cleveland. And so suffice to say, some of the things we're dealing with is prevalent across the country. So kudos. I have quite a few questions, but the questions are meant to dig deeper into the program, and it's more thought-provoking as we think past the pilot start of this. This is just the beginning, so I'm recognizing that this is going to change along the way. But again, the preface is to say just kudos for where we started from a concept, right, to a policy, and now to implementation. So I want to start by saying this is a phenomenal program, and again, it's top of mind across the country. And India, I think our program should also be highlighted at APTA at some point, because again, it's unique in and of itself because it's unique to Cleveland. It's not a cookie cutter model. So just a couple questions, a couple suggestions. Can we go back to the slide of either of the slide with the wording of the uniforms? Sure. I just want to point out that I think the wording is too small. One of the things I learned over the years, and Chief, you may notice too from working with, and Natoya as well, Mary McNamara from the City of Cleveland's Department of Aging, that there's a certain automatic font that you should be using in print and in different things when you work with seniors. So seniors may not be able to see that, or people with visually impaired. So just a note about the wording on the font on both of the uniforms. And then with that, people who are visually impaired, we may just want to think about how will they know that the ambassadors are on the bus. I don't know if that's a pre-recording that'll be on the bus that announces periodically. Just a reminder, we do have our transit ambassadors on the bus today, or our CIS specialists, but we may want to think about something unique to do that for people who may be physically, visually impaired, and we may want to think about somebody who may have hearing disabilities as well. I noticed that they're both working the same shift, which is first and second, and we do have late hour shifts as well. And so my question is, will somebody be on call? How will we handle when something happens after the first and after the second shift? It's not for an answer, but just think about it. I know you're thinking that out, and I know you also mentioned that you will continue to spread that out. As you think about partnerships moving forward, obviously, City of Cleveland is one. They already had this program. As Chief knows this, she helped implement it at the City of Cleveland. We already have CIS specialists in the rec centers, trained with CPD, already trained, and so that's a low-hanging fruit partner. And just making them aware that this program is being implemented as well, I think that's added, support. So I just think that would be a good partnership. For clarity, will there be 10 CIS and 10 ambassadors for a total of 20?
Hi, good morning, Ms. McCall.
Good morning.
There's actually going to be 4 CIS specialists. They'll be working the 2 shifts. To address the on-call issue, they're going to be required to do all our CIS reports, so they'll read them all and review them. We're also going to 100% compliance with our officers taking the CIT class. So all our officers will have training in it, and they will be communicating with the CIS specialist.
Okay, so the total is 10 in total? Right, not 10 and 10, but okay, so based on our system, this is probably something that we as a board want to watch, because we may want to ensure that from a budgetary capacity that we do increase that, because that's going to be inundating. Only 4 CIS and only 6 ambassadors will become overwhelming. And we also may want to realistically think about back office support for the CIS, because if they got to do all the reporting, it's only 4 of them. They're working, 2 shifts. We need to make sure we build in some type of support for them and the backroom operation function. And that's something that you guys can present to us later, but as a board, we should be prepared that it's coming. Who is doing the training? Is it just in-house? Are we working with the Adams Board as well?
So we are working with the Adams Board. We actually have on-staff trainers. Myself and Commander Hudson are actually trainers with the Adams Board.
Okay,
we go
perfect.
on Fridays. So on Friday, we will have a training day. We'll also requested a bus that will go out there. I've talked with Carol Ballard from the Training Commission, and we're going to make the scenarios more realistic to what we do. So it's good we have a relationship with them. We also currently work with many other organizations throughout the area.
Great. And then once they're trained, is it like a certification program at the end? Do we give them something that says you've been trained, da-da-da-da-da? And if not, it may be something to think about.
So on Friday, they'll receive a pin that says that they're CIT trained along with a certificate.
Okay, and then last question, I promise. For the ambassadors and for the CIS specialists, will they have body cameras as well?
That's a topic that we're still discussing.
Okay, and the only reason why I'm asking that, and maybe something, I know there may or may not be some HIPAA stuff there, but I doubt, because it's public and they're in the public domain. It's just something to think about in case there is an incident from documentation perspective moving forward. So it's just something to think about. Again, kudos. I mean, it's easy to sit up and have conversations. We hear from the public about wanting more safety. We've heard from the public we don't want the officers doing fare evasion and all this other stuff. So it's easy to hear the complaints, take in the complaints, hear people fussing and saying we want our officers out there doing officer work. To go from a concept to a scenario, to a pilot, to implementation takes a lot of hard work. So I just want to commend the staff, India, under your leadership, under the chief's leadership, and the staff here at RTA. I don't want to minimize how important this is. We just sat through a session. We heard from 3 organizations that tried it, Some tried it in a pilot phase and do not have a program going, to some who have models of programs going, to others who are just like, wow, how do we even start this? So I just want to say congratulations and thank you for today's presentation.
Anything else? Yes.
Ms. Moss, is your microphone on?
But it's more important that we get it right. So I appreciate all the time that's been spent on getting this. I have some follow-throughs on what Ms. McCall was saying. One was on the uniforms and I know you don't have it, but winter's coming, so obviously we'll need to have jackets. And two is, okay, so this is the pilot program, and what is the phase of, so how long will it be a pilot program? What is the trajectory? Because as we know, having 6 ambassadors on a system our size is really, and over 2 shifts, really means that the presence will not be large. So, you know, what ultimately is our goal? How many people do we want? How many people will be as ambassadors and our crisis intervention people?
Good morning. I try not to use the word pilot project because the goal is for this to be a permanent program. And just to correct the record, it's not 6 transit ambassadors, it will be 10 to start with. We are hoping to expand the program so that it does cover more ground on the system. I understand the concern about winter. We are working on jackets and winter gear as we speak. So.
And then my other question is more nuts and bolts question. So I had the pleasure actually of writing a few different transit systems this summer. One was in Budapest, Hungary, and 2 different times someone asked me for my ticket, and I was only on for 3 stops. So I must have looked a little shady or something. But someone was there and on the train, and then when I got off the train. And it was all done in a very professional manner, and it was not really an intimidating process. That's what we hope for. But what happens, and there was a fine associated, by the way, there if you didn't have your ticket. I'm wondering, so I'm the ambassador. I go on the train and I ask people for, I presume they're going to ask everyone, not random. And was it so I didn't buy a ticket? What do they do? And then what's the consequence? Because I guess if the whole thing is if there's no consequence for it, then, and there's an ambassador saying, please buy a ticket, I just don't see why anyone would buy a ticket, besides being a good citizen, which I, of course, endorse.
Good morning, Ms. Moss, members of the board. I am Flounce Caver, the Chief Operating Officer. And so as we look at the ambassador program, our goal is that the ambassadors will be primarily customer service agents who provide for us an ability to engage customers, to help them to pay the fare, to understand our rules. If our ambassadors meet a person who hasn't paid their fare, they will have a conversation about how to pay the fare. We are not expecting them to engage in policing actions. They will have radios to be able to call the police for fare evasion, similar to a bus driver. But they will not be doing a full fare inspection where they are simply replacing fare enforcement officers. We believe that the uniform presence on the vehicle will compel individuals to pay the fare and engage, but we are not going to place them in a position where they themselves, in that isolated 40 feet, have to become the arbitrator of the fare. They will have access to transit police and be able to contact the police, who will be available to come assist them.
So are you telling me, I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, so they encounter someone who has not bought a fare, or purchased a fare, and then they, generally, I presume they're not going to call the police, because then we're back to the police being the enforcement. Yeah. So is there any, is there any consequence for not purchasing a ticket to ride RTA?
Yeah, so I'll just make a correction. So if they encounter a person who has not paid the fare, They will engage the person in a de-escalated manner. If the person still doesn't pay the fare, they then will contact the police, similar to our bus drivers. And when our police come, they will deal with the incident as a fare evasion.
Okay, thanks.
If I can interject for just a moment. Also, if you want to provide information, will the ambassadors and/or crisis intervention specialists have access to radios?
Yes, they will all have radios that will give them contact with the various departments. The transit ambassadors will have radios that will be on the channel that is similar to our service quality supervisors, the field supervisors that you see. They will call into the ICC that you see next, and we will handle that through that vein. The crisis intervention specialist will be riding with the transit police officer, and they will have a radio that will be a direct radio as if they're a police officer, and they will contact directly to the police's dispatch center.
Ms. Welch? Ms. Welch?
I just want to say thank you so much for implementing this. I know, again, to echo the sentiments, it took a lot of hard work to bring this here, and I'm truly grateful for it. And I know this is just the beginning of it. A couple of questions. I was curious about how you're determining in this rollout where the crisis intervention specialists and the ambassadors are going to be stationed first, and if you somehow gathered that through data, or whether, I mean, I'm just curious about placement and how you determined the placement for this first rollout.
Can we take it? Yeah. Okay. So the ambassadors primary with this, and so as Ms. McCall and Ms. Moss mentioned, this is a introductory number. We won't use the term pilot. And so the ambassador's primary duty will be the health line when they start. They will have a office on the red line, and so by way of the West 65th Street office that we're building, they'll be engaging on the rail line. So you can imagine that a person will have to ride the train from West 65th to, let's say, Superior Station in East Cleveland, because they're going to enter the health line in East Cleveland. And so you'll have their presence on the rail. At these numbers, we can't saturate the whole system, but the chief and her team are going to use data. So if you saw the slide that said ArcGIS and mapping data, and so within that system, they'll be able to look at calls for service or observations that the transit ambassadors are making to better deploy themselves on those two lines. And then using the data that's in our crime system, which is called Spillman, we'll be able to understand if and when we get to a larger size where we might deploy those folks on the larger bus network. But the primary space will be the health line, the rail line, and then as we get and understand the program and request those funds from the budget office as well as the board, we'll look at how to accelerate that and add more people.
Great, thank you. And then I was also wondering, has there been any thought to ways in which civilians can contact an ambassador without having to directly call them into attention? Mostly I'm thinking about our students who ride the RTA quite regularly, who might be in uncomfortable positions and might need to assist or get the assistance of someone, but might not want to call that to attention for whatever reason, whether that be through text message or through a form. Has that been?
So we have that technology. You want to talk about the? I'll let the lieutenant describe that technology, but we do have a great process that allows a person to give us information on a vehicle and speak directly with our dispatch office.
Good morning. The RTA owns 575 Eyes. It's a live chat-based program. 24 hours a day they can communicate with our dispatchers. They can send text messages, videos, photos, anything that they need that can communicate back and forth. And then the dispatcher will have the ability to reach the ambassador, and then there'll also be officers in the area if they need it.
All right.
Thank you.
Anything else? Yes. Ms. Bale?
Thank you for the presentation. Do we have in place or in our plans bilingual services in this program? Would there be language or even sign language to help our writers that are bilingual or are speaking different language?
That's actually a very good question. We do have a language bank, but, Doc, did you want to? Okay.
So we're continuing to recruit for those positions. That will be an area. Currently, I don't think we have a Spanish-speaking individual in our test bank, but we are looking for and trying to figure out how do we get those types of talents there.
Thank you.
Just to pick up on what my colleague Luz is saying, it may make sense to sit down with Global Cleveland and have a conversation around this program and establish a partnership with them because they provide some of these services. There may be a cost to it, but at least it's worth having a conversation with them, let them know what you're doing, explain the program, and then that way you'll have a direct relationship with them with some of their translators, because not just in Spanish, you may come across some other non-English speaking people, and Global Cleveland can help with those services.
Thank you, Ms. McCall.
And sign, yeah.
And Ms. Pale, I just got, so we have been looking particularly in the Hispanic neighborhood, and we have advertised in La Mega.
All right, anybody else? Yes.
Just if I could interject for just a moment, Chief, if you want to clarify again, because we've heard a lot of different numbers. I think we're talking about a lot of different things. We're talking about training, we're talking about people recruiting, we're talking about people who got the job, who maybe are in the pipeline. We were talking about a total of 10 ambassadors, correct? And how many would be crisis intervention specialists, and how many actual ambassadors?
We're actually talking about a total of 10 ambassadors and 4 crisis intervention specialists.
Okay. And then as far as the idea of keeping additional training efforts going so that we have a sort of pool, if you will, to be able to augment the service if we find that there's any kind of drop-off with ambassadors, are we planning on continually recruiting for these positions so that we have an additional sort of pool to pull from?
We will continue to recruit. We actually were at the job fair last week for RTA out at West Park. We found 6 additional candidates, and we directed them to how to apply, and we'll continue to actually have an applicant pool.
Okay, thank you. I think it's important to underscore the idea that this is actually more than a pilot for us. We do intend to make this a part of our permanent program. Again, we have to monitor, make sure that we can make tweaks to it, see how it turns out, so to speak, as we continue to refine the process. But our intent is to make this a permanent mainstay in our oversight of the system. So we will be continuing to hire for these positions. We don't want also the employees who are hired to feel like they're in a fluctuation sort of situation as far as employment. This is a permanent position within RTA. It is funded with our budget. We do have several processes in place, but we understand that it's in infancy, so we do want to make that clarification. Thank you to the team. This has been a really a great effort and a collaborative effort, and the information that was suggested today is not lost on me or the team, so we'll continue to work to refine the process, especially with the diversity effort, to make sure we can communicate to everybody as we go out onto the system. So I expect that we'd be able to come back to you within a few months or so to give you an update as well.
Any other questions? Certainly I've been behind this program in a major way all the way through. I have pushed and prodded and inquired, and I've been very happy that your staff chief and the staff here at the main office have worked hard to bring us to this date, and I look forward to the initial first date of operation, and the health line is a good place to start. Anything else? We take a motion, take this to the board.
So move, Luz.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you very much. Thank you again. We have a motion to adjourn.
We have one more presentation,
Oh,
Reverend.
one more. How many? So, oh, yes. I don't want to. Oh, I wouldn't want to miss this. Being Oversight Committee. I get so excited about those ambassadors.
Good morning again, Chairman Lucas and members of the board. Again, my name is Deirdre Jones, and I'm the chief of the GCRTA Police Department. With me is Project Manager Ron Woodford, and today we are presenting an update on the Civilian Oversight Committee. So now the purpose of the Civilian Oversight Committee is to review and investigate public complaints filed against GCRTA Transit Police employees and to make recommendations. Those recommendations must be consistent with GCRTA and TP rules, policies, procedures, and our collective bargaining agreement. As introduced in October, police oversight increases police accountability, assists in the reduction of costly litigation. It can identify areas of concern and offer options to improve policing. It helps improve the quality of internal affairs investigations and increases public understanding of police policy and procedures. And it also fosters communication between community and the police. Members applying to the board must possess the ability to remain objective and unbiased. Members must also reflect our customer base and be at least 18 years of age and reside in Cuyahoga County, have no criminal history, and possess a general understanding of or willingness to get a general understanding of GCRTA and TP services. The committee selection shall include an application process. The applications shall be forwarded to the screening committee, which shall consist of one or more board members selected by the board chair, the GCRTA Chief Executive Officer, GCRTA Chief of Police, and two or more GCRTA employees selected by the GCRTA Chief Executive Officer. Ultimately, the Board of Trustees makes the final selection from qualified applicants. The committee shall be comprised of 7 individuals from diverse communities, again within Cuyahoga County, and shall include at least 1 retired police officer with Ohio Peace Officer Training Academy training and investigative experience. They shall be selected by application to the COC by the Board of Trustees. The terms for the COC members shall be 3 years, and it shall be staggered. 2 initial appointments for 1 year, 2 initial appointments for 2 years, and 3 initial appointments for 3 years. The recommended compensation for committee members shall be $1,200 per annum, paid at $100 per month, and unlimited transit privileges for COC members, as they shall receive a GCRTA badge ID card. Committee training shall be internal and external, and it shall consist of constitutional or other relevant law regarding police-citizen encounters, use of force, stops, searches, and arrests, police tactics, investigations of police misconduct, bias-free policing and policing individuals in crisis, GCRTA and transit police policies, procedures, and disciplinary rules, our GCRTA Code of Ethics, Ohio Sunshine Laws, and community outreach. May also include police ride-alongs, our simulations, and online police training. The investigative process is as such that the complaint is received by Transit Police. Transit Police will conduct the internal affairs investigations. If necessary, the administrative commander of Transit Police will forward the complaint and investigative materials to the committee. The committee shall elect to hear the case within 10 days. They can interview officers, complainant, witnesses, and in order to move an action forward, it has to be by majority vote. Also, the committee shall make recommendations to the chief of police. We have completed phase 1, where we presented the board the initial concept and gathered information on resources. We are now in phase 2. We are developing the necessary plans, including the standard operating procedures. We are seeking Board of Trustee approval. We will review and finalize, again, proposed operating procedures and execute steps to formally establish the COC. The goal will be, by phase 5, is to close the project at the end of December, where the COC becomes a fully operational unit. Staff requests that the Committee of the Whole recommend to the Board of Trustees the creation of the Civilian Oversight Committee. Are there any questions?
Questions to the board? Director?
If I may, just wanted to augment the comments made by the chief. So the information that you received today is meant to give you a summary of where we are as far as proposals for the structure of the committee. So our intent is to gather your approval and blessing to come before you again, perhaps at the end of the month, with a formalized resolution to adopt the committee structure so that we can move forward with implementation. We understand that there might be additional questions that we have that we can also answer offline in addition to today. Again, the goal is to be able to get this kind of up and running so that we can get into the implementation phase in Q4 of this year. But we understand that the review process by the board may take more than an additional few weeks. But again, we wanted to make sure we got it in front of you. This, if you recall, was a session in our board retreat. And so some of the information that we also gathered from the board at that session has been also included in our recommendations. So we didn't want to hesitate on bringing you up to speed on where we were. So I just wanted to give you that information as well.
So you're not asking for a motion?
We're asking, if you go back to that slide previous, we're asking for the kind of green light so that we can bring you the next resolution, which would formally adopt this committee into the board structure.
That's what we're asking today. Yes, Valerie?
I just want to say again, this was another one of those things that the writers consistently said that they wanted, that they asked for. I want to just give kudos again to the team and to the chief and her team for hearing it out, coming to us, putting something together, and having something that can even be considered to move to the board today. So I just want to congratulate the team, at least for getting it to this point. Again, we know it's a work in progress. For newer board members, this used to be the CAC. I remember when I first came on the board and they just told me, board members could appoint their own people, and here's your 2 appointees. We have come a long way. So to get to where we are today, I just want to say thank you. This has been a long stretch, but it's a good stretch that we're in. And again, you'll make, changes along the way, but to be where you are today is a good lift. So thank you.
Are there any other board member? Yes, Mayor?
Let me just echo the comments from Ms. McCall. I, too, appreciate all the time and effort that's gone into this. I also appreciate incorporating, I know we at the retreat, I in particular had a comment about having some person with more direct police experience on the committee, so I appreciate that being incorporated. If you wouldn't mind just going back, I think it's one slide. Well, I'm sorry, one more. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I understood the sort of the authority of the committee. It says the COC hears cases within 10 days and a majority required to carry any action forward, and then the COC makes recommendations to the chief of police. So I just want to make sure I'm following. So the COC needs a majority to make a recommendation of that decision to the police chief, the chief of police, to make decisions relating to these? Is that the intent of how it is to work?
That is correct.
So ultimately, it's the chief of police that makes those determinations as to.
If I can interject, because we had a little discussion about this in a roundabout way actually yesterday while we were running through the draft. So great question, Mayor. I believe that our intent is to be able to have this function in a quorum sort of fashion for the committee, the same way that you would to move resolutions forward. The majority of this committee would have to agree on said recommendation that would then be submitted to the chief for implementation, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
All right, anyone else? All right, so now we are going to ask for a motion to go to the board. We're also looking forward at our next meeting to a full presentation for this event. Do you have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
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 Opposed, no. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Woodford, for being here today, and thank you, Senate Cobb, for being here. and we're always glad to see our chief of police. All right?
President Lucas, would you like to adjourn this committee?
I thought maybe you wanted to say something before I did that. You're the next group.
Yes, she's with the next group.
I see. All right. We have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you very much. You're adjourned. Turn this over to you, sir.
I'd like to call to order the RTA Audit, Safety, Compliance, and Real Estate Committee. Teresa, if you could call roll, please.
Mayor Kumar?
Here.
Ms. Moss?
Here.
Mr. Joyce is not here. Ms. McCall? Here. And Mayor Weiss?
Here.
We have 4 committee members present.
Thank you. A few items today. The first, I think, is on property and crime insurance, and we have Judy Lincoln here to present.
Good morning. Good morning, Mayor Kumar, members of the committee, members of the board. I have been asked to provide you with a project overview of the, and what happened to my slide? Okay, I'm just going to go with this. A project overview of the RFP that we issued for the property and crime insurance broker. RTA does carry an all-risk property insurance policy, which has a current policy period of January 1, 22 through January 1, 23. The covered perils include wind, flood, fire, collapse, to name just a few. It is replacement cost insurance coverage. The program protects all real and personal property for which RTA is responsible. This includes all of our bus garages, the rail complex, rail stations, the actual rail and bus fleet. Buses are insured for non-collision perils only. We do not cover them for collision, not being cost effective. An insurance broker is required to approach almost all insurance markets for either renewal quotes or negotiations, or for approaching new insurance markets for a competitive marketing effort. One exception to this is FM Global, who was RTA's former property insurance carrier, who is a direct writer and one of the biggest ones in the world. FM Global advised us in 2020 that they would no longer be writing rail or rolling stock exposures as part of their core business. And so we were in a position to go out and get a broker for the first time in many years at that time. So in 2020, RTA's broker conducted a full-scale marketing of the program. First time we had been out there in many years to look at carriers other than FM Global. And it was mandatory that we find new carriers. So we put together a comprehensive underwriting submission that described RTA's property exposures, including replacement values of all our properties, engineering and loss control reports, descriptions of our facilities and operations, and we and the broker negotiated the best program in terms of coverage and pricing at that time. This slide is a summary of the program that was achieved at that time, and also happens to reflect our current program as well, because we really have not changed it. So for 2 years now, we've had this program. We actually have 2 insurance policies because there are not a lot of insurance carriers out there that are comfortable with the rail exposure. So we actually have Liberty Mutual on what I'll call the traditional property program, which applies to all RTA real and personal property, including the rolling stock when it is garaged. The blanket limit on that program is $500 million per loss, same as it used to be under FM Global. Deductible is $250,000 per loss, same as it used to be. The second program is a standalone rolling stock policy written by Evanston Insurance Company, and it specifically provides coverage for RTA rolling stock when rolling, both bus and rail. Blanket limit $25 million, deductible $500,000. RTA also carries a crime insurance policy. Traditionally, we have used the same broker to handle the property and the crime insurance policy. It isn't cost effective to put out a contract for an insurance broker for every little small policy that you do, so this is something we've done many years ago when we had a property broker. So we're going back to it. So the crime insurance policy that is currently in force is written with traveler's insurance and intact insurance. Combined, we have a total coverage limit of $4 million per loss and a deductible of $500,000 per loss. Some board members will recall that we had some crime insurance claims that made this a very difficult line of coverage to write for a few years. So this is actually an improvement over what we had right after our last claim. Our deductible was at one time $1 million. We've gotten it down to the $500,000. Includes employee dishonesty coverage, forgery, alteration, inside and outside premises, and computer fraud coverage. The current term of the policy is February 16th, 22 through February 16th, 23. And at this point, I will turn it over to Ashley from Procurement to give you the procurement overview.
Good morning, Chairperson Kumar, members of the committee, and members of the board. My name is Ashley Bober, and I am the contract administrator for this project. The RFP was issued in April of 2022. It was accessed on the authority's website by 10 interested parties, and 5 firms proposed. Evaluation panel members were representatives from Risk Management, the Office of Management and Budget, Planning and Development, Procurement, and the Office of Business Development. Evaluation criteria used to evaluate the proposals was the relevance and quality of staff experience and credentials assigned to the authority's account. Experience with other public transit properties was a plus. Organization, clarity, and responsiveness of proposals regarding the requirements outlined in the RFP. References, market reputation, and experience of the firm in the areas of risk funding, account management, and insurance placement activities for accounts of a similar size and complexity. And lastly, the overall cost effectiveness of the proposal. The recommended firm is Rfe Services Northeast Incorporated. They are headquartered in Chicago, Illinois, but they do have a local office here in Cleveland, Ohio. The DBE goal of 7% will be met by using the Rutledge Group, located also here in Cleveland, Ohio. Aon is a worldwide brokerage and consulting firm with over 500 offices in 120 countries. They provide extensive experience in the design and placement of property and crime insurance coverage. As the authority's current property and crime insurance broker, they provide historical knowledge, technical rail knowledge, and a thorough understanding of current issues. Continuing, Aon has strong market relations for transit accounts, and through the utilization of experts throughout the world, Aon ensures that the authority obtains the broadest and most competitively priced insurance coverage. And lastly, Aon has extensive experience in public transit and the rail industry, which includes experience in handling unique exposures to risk management. Recent clients of Aon include the Authority, Regional Transportation Authority, South Florida Regional Transportation Authority, Northern Indiana Commuter Transportation District, the Virginia Rail Express, First Energy, Goodyear Tires, Cleveland Clinic, Vitamix, Nationwide, Moderna, and J.M. Smucker. Staff is recommending an award to Aon Risk Services Northeast Incorporated to provide property and crime insurance broker services in an amount not to exceed $243,000 for the base 3 years, and in amounts not to exceed $85,050 and $89,300 for each option year, respectively, for a total contract amount not to exceed $417,350. That concludes the presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Like a motion to refer this to the full board? Yes?
So moved.
Second.
If I just have a quick comment before you go? Okay.
Yep, that's fine.
Thank you. I didn't want to step on anyone's toes. Just wanted to just bring this to the board's attention. There's a lot of effort that went into the, I don't want to say the negotiation, but I say the presentation of RTA for a lot of the brokering world or market. I will say that being privy to those conversations, it was interesting to be able to see the reaction in a positive note to our safety record and also our oversight when it comes to safety, process and procedure, reporting, and then remedy for any issues that might arise. In the transit industry, I believe it was Judy that mentioned in the beginning that there is a little bit of a hesitancy to insure for rail and some different aspects of public transportation just because of the risk that's involved, sheer numbers of the amount of vehicles and movement that goes on in our industry. Union relationship was also something that arose in those conversations. And again, we had a very positive reaction to the current culture and climate of RTA as it relates to the public transit industry overall. So it was interesting to see a lot of the questions that we were asked. We really didn't have too much of an answer because it didn't pertain to us when it came to negative sort of relationships that could impact the way that we do our business. So I just wanted to say I was very proud of the reporting that we were able to provide, and I think it's evident in a lot of the numbers that are provided to you today. So please feel confident in the fact that I think we're a pretty solid contender for a lot of the better rates in insurance.
Great. Thank you very much. Judy, thank you for all you and your team, all your hard work on this.
Thank you very much.
Motion to refer this to the full board?
It's on the table.
I think
Okay.
Mayor Weiss made the motion. Ms.
All those in
Wong,
favor?
second.
Aye. Abstentions?
Abstain.
Okay, motion carries. We'll move that to the full board. Now we have a casualty insurance program.
Excuse me, since we had an abstention, I'll need to call the roll. Okay. Mayor Kumar?
Yes.
Ms. Moss? Mr. Joyce is not here. Ms. McCall?
Abstain.
And Mayor Weiss?
Yes.
Believe it still passes. We have 3 ayes and 1 abstention.
Sorry, I heard him verbally, but thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Good morning again. Good morning, Mayor Kumar, members of the committee, members of the board. I have a couple introductions I would like to make first, actually. We have a couple guests with us today that are our casualty insurance brokers. Barbara Goodwin is the Senior Vice President from USI Insurance. She is here from San Francisco. And Darwin Rutledge, President of the Rutledge Insurance Group, is her DBE partner. And the two of them together constitute our domestic insurance brokers for this casualty insurance program that I'm about to present to you, which is by far and away our largest insurance program. And as India pointed out, requires months and months and months of work and preparation to lead up to this result in this presentation. So I want to introduce them and thank them both for their help and hard work. Thank you.
You want to say anything? Do you want to say anything?
Go ahead, Darwin.
Sir, if you would step to the microphone, please, so we can get you.
I was saying that the Rutledge Group is proud, as always, to partner with Greater Cleveland RTA. We've had a long-term relationship. We want to continue this, and we'll always give our fight, for Greater Cleveland RTA. And thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. So this time I am here to discuss the casualty insurance program, as you know, and the casualty insurance program renews on September 1st of 2022, so coming right up. And as I say, we have been working diligently to get these programs negotiated for the best pricing and terms for RTA. I'm going to summarize the program for you to begin with. So we maintain a casualty insurance program for protection of RTA's assets against catastrophic loss. The first line of coverage is the excess liability program. It contains general, rail, and auto liability coverages. We do carry a $5 million self-insured retention, which is substantial. Needless to say, $5 million per loss we absorb ourselves, and we have insurance coverage above that in the amount of $95 million in limits, bringing us up to a $100 million level. Obviously, what we do as a business involves some catastrophic risk. We own a lot of bridges, we run rail cars, we drive buses full of people, so it makes good sense to carry a program of this nature with a high self-insured retention where we pay what we call the working loss layer ourselves, and we insure the catastrophic piece above us. So that's the principle. And the next line of coverage is excess workers' compensation. It is a $10 million coverage limit and a $750,000 self-insured retention per loss. The last line of coverage is the public official's liability, which includes employment practices liability. The limit is $5 million per loss, $250,000 self-insured retention for the public official's coverage, and a $500,000 self-insured retention for the employment practices piece. So, like the property insurance, excess liability markets must be accessed via a broker. There are no direct writers of these coverages. RTA conducts an RFP process, very similar to the one you just heard about, to select and retain a casualty insurance broker. The Board of Trustees, by resolution number 2018-28, authorized contract number 2017-166 with USI Insurance Services National, Inc. to provide casualty insurance broker services for a period of 3 years with 2 one-year options for renewal. The broker is selected based on their expertise in the commercial insurance market, including experience in the industry sector involving rail, transit, and transportation. In this case, of course, expertise in the area of casualty insurance is required. Together, RTA and the broker approach the insurance markets to provide submissions which describe RTA's operations and exposures, different exposures than for property insurance. They want to know things like revenues and payroll and ridership and our safety culture. So loss experience, safety culture, and together, again, we negotiate the best partnerships with markets and the best program for RTA in the terms of coverage and pricing. A few words about the public officials and what it covers. It provides liability insurance protection to directors and officers, as well as RTA for alleged wrongful acts by DNOs, including the Board of Trustees and employees. The policy also does provide insurance coverage for employment practices claims. So the results. The excess liability, which is the largest program, as I have said, results. When I wrote this was as of last Friday, but I think I'm safe to say they're current results. And I can actually give these numbers without fear of them moving. The expiring premium is $1,700,383. Our renewal premium is a 3% increase, which is a wonderful result. Brings us to $1,751,394. We had budgeted for a 10% increase. This is a great result given the continued hard market. It is a bit better, I'm told, than it had been this last year or two, which was very, very rough. But we did not expect a result this good. So thank you for your work. And for those of you that haven't heard me describe this program before, it is a quota share program, which means that it's built in layers, and we have several participants, a lot of Lloyd's of London insurance markets and several others participating in each layer to build us up to the $95 million in limits. So we have domestic, London, and Bermuda markets participating. And we are awaiting, I believe, one formal written quote, or did we get it? Okay, so we are still waiting a few written quotes, but we will have them before we compose the resolution and bring it to you for approval. So the excess workers' compensation policy negotiations are complete. Due to a marketing effort that was conducted, we were able to generate some competition among markets and achieve a rate reduction of a little bit more than 7%, which is, again, much better than we anticipated. The existing carrier, Safety National, is now offering a flat premium despite our payroll increase of 7.6%. That payroll increase is using projected 21 payroll versus projected 22 payroll, which is what we have to give them because that's what they want to underwrite on at the time that we're negotiating. So our renewal premium is $292,843 versus the expiring of $292,602. Better than expected result given the most recent guidance we got from the brokers out in the market were 5 to 7.5% increase. So a flat rate, I'm sorry, not a flat rate, a 7% rate reduction is spectacular. Last but not least, the public officials results. The incumbent carrier is AIG. The expiring premium is $96,000. They really shocked us. We were told to budget 25% for this line of coverage, It is a very difficult line of coverage. I am told that there are very, very few markets out there that will even entertain quoting public entities for this public officials coverage. There have been a lot of claims activity around the country, and this is not an easy coverage to procure at a good price. So we miraculously have come in with a 4% increase as opposed to the 25% increase that we were told to budget, and we did budget. So all in all, excellent renewal results this year. And I believe, one more slide. So the renewal results that we have presented here for the excess workers' comp and public officials will be summarized in a memo to the Board of Trustees, accompanied by a resolution containing those recommendations. The final premiums and the results and recommendations for the excess liability program will also be included. The resolution will be brought before the board for approval at the August 23rd, 2022 meeting. And are there any questions?
Thank you very much. And I know for some of the mayors in the room that where we need to quote insurance for our cities, these are very favorable rates. Overall, the percentage increases, as you mentioned, are modest and ahead of budget. So thank you again for your hard work on this.
Thank you very much.
Any other comments?
Yeah, just for me, kudos, great job. I know how difficult this process is, so thank you. Just confirmation, these are all 1 year?
I'm sorry?
Just to confirm, these are all 1 year terms?
Yes.
I assume,
yes.
Okay.
In this type of market, you don't see too many people offering multi-year terms. That's when you know the market softens up, when you can get multi-year policies. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great. Is there a motion to move these items to the board, full board?
So moved.
Second? Second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have two.
Abstain, roll call.
Sorry. Are you abstaining on this too? Okay.
Okay. Mayor
Roll call
Kumar?
then. Yes.
Okay. Ms. Moss?
Yes.
Mr. Joyce is not here. Ms. McCall?
Abstain.
And Mayor Weiss?
Yes.
Okay, we have 3 A's and 1 abstention.
I do want to thank Ms. Lincoln for the excellent work that she does. You do a great job. On behalf of the board, I want to say thank you. Right?
Great. I think we have one more item. If we could suspend, a motion to suspend the regular meeting of the committee meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Would like a motion to go into executive session
Motion.
to consider the purchase or sale
Sorry.
or disposition of GCRT property.
Motion. So moved.
Second.
You call roll, please.
Okay. Mayor Kumar?
Yes.
Ms. Moss?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
And Mayor Weiss?
Yes.
We have 4 A's and none opposed. Mr. Chair, would you like to invite the rest of the board to stay in this executive session with your committee?
I absolutely would. And India, who else would you need in executive session?
So we will retain Michael Shipper, Jim Rutznoff, Janet Burney, sorry, I'm looking, Melinda D'Angelo, Raj Gotham, Doc Caver, and Tony Garofoli. I believe
that's great.
Rounds everybody out.
Okay, at this time, I would ask that everyone exit the room during this session of this committee. Please take all of your belongings.
Could I have a motion to adjourn executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Second, Karen.
Roll call, please.
Okay. Mayor Kumar?
Yes.
Ms. Moss? Yes. Ms. McCall?
Yes.
And Mayor Weiss?
Yes.
We have 4 ayes and none opposed.
Great. Could I have a motion to reconvene the Audit Safety Committee?
So moved, Valerie.
Second, Karen.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Is there any additional business in front of the committee?
Nope.
Okay. If not, the meeting is adjourned. A motion to adjourn.
So moved, Valerie.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.